What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA Show. It is myself and Justin Guitar Hero James, and we got a lot to talk about, even though there doesn't seem to be that much going on in the world of mixed martial arts and the UFC in particular, but still a lot has happened this week. And one thing in particular that we should start off with before we get into the topics for today is I believe you have a fight coming up next week.
Yes, sir, man. Fighting Justin James, the Guitar Hero, back in action for fierce fighting in Salt Lake City, Utah. So if there's anybody in party with the Guitar Hero, you know, I'm known to fight hard. I party harder, boy. So blow up.
Awesome. All right, it cut out a little bit, but just so I can restate that, you're fighting in Salt Lake City on the 10th, right, of February?
Yes, that's correct. I'm gonna disconnect my Bluetooth.
Disconnect because it's going in and out. No worries. I got to tell you something too that I did today before we get into this first topic, which we're constantly going back to. It seems over and over, but I finally did the open sparring class today at the gym, and I'm gonna start going every Friday. Yo, it was amazing, dude. You know, up till now, the only people I've ever sparred are Pete, you, and one other guy, Preacher. Those are I've just sparred like 3 people. So you're muted. Yeah, there you go.
You've sparred Preacher before?
One time.
Dude,
he went
he's
like
a fucking stud, bro.
Yeah, but he went super easy. It was when I was only training for like 8 months or something. So it was way at the beginning, but he went so light on me. So it was amazing. But so this was the first time where I just went to a class and I sparred with like 10 different people. It was crazy. It was so fun, dude. And it was, I kind of obviously I'm sparring. I told everybody, I was like, yo, can we go light? No problem. Everybody's super cool. I took some leg kicks and stuff like that my legs are a little bruised up, but people were like very respectful. And I do the same back. But yeah, it was really, really fun. And it's like, it's when you're just sparring from person to person to person to person, dude, that is the most flow state you can ever be in. Cause all you're doing is you're just watching and pay attention. And then every guy's different. And oh man, that was incredible. So anyways, I'm
glad you got to experience that, man. Like I said, and it doesn't look like you took too much damage, man. Face still looks good. How those legs feel from those kicks?
Yeah, my legs are the things that are hurting a little bit, but it's fine. Like it was just, I don't know. I was telling Louisa that it's like when you're sparring like that back to back to back, there's nothing else that enters your mind. At least for me, I was just paying full attention, just watching the shots. And the cool thing is, like, when I spar with you or when I spar with Pete or like people that are really good, a lot of times it feels like I can't do anything, right? Like, and nothing is landing. Pete's blocking everything. He's reading everything. And so that is difficult. It's probably good training. It's good practice. But with some of these other guys who are more maybe closer to my level, some I probably train longer than too, I bet, and some are much more advanced than me. But then it's like with different people, I was like, oh, I can actually, like, some of my little things that don't work on Pete were working. And yeah, I don't know. It was fun.
Absolutely.
All right. Anyways, let's get into the mix. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. A Dominic Reyes interview that I really want to talk to you about. Oh my God, man. And before we get into one other thing I want to talk about too, Jamal Hill. So he posted on, I think, Twitter, Instagram, I'm back. Okay. And that was a headline story on one of the MMA channels that Jamal Hill is now back, or he's saying he's back. And I mean, I don't want to say anything that I'm not supposed to say, but like, you trained with him recently, right?
Dude, so yeah, I saw Jamal yesterday, man. He had his first sparring session since his surgery yesterday at Extreme Couture. Me and Jamal go way back, man. And I have so much respect for him because we grew up on the same circuit. Him and I are. I'm not gonna make some fabrication that say, oh, dude, we're homies and we hang out all the time. That's not the case. But we do come from the same area. We're both from Michigan. We both have seen each other on the regional circuit. We've both fought on the same card a bunch of times. And when he came in the gym, I was coach. I don't know if I was with a client or if I was coaching a class yesterday. He came over, man, gave me a big hug, and we chatted about it for 5 minutes. We're gonna smoke a joint here relatively soon. Gave me a call last night, man. The guy is, for how far he's went, everything he's overcome in the sport, and to know where he's from, and just to understand like where we started, man. Like, I just wish people would understand where we started. Me, Cody Stamen, Darren Cruikshank, Jamal Hill, Kenny Cross, who's under a contract for Bellator, looking to go to the PFL right now. Like, dude, it's not it is not the ideal situation. It's not Las Vegas. It's just crazy, man. And for how far he's come, I'm so proud of him. And I always told him, or I told him yesterday, man, it's like, hey, whether you hear from me or no, just know that you got a silent supporter over here, bro. Like, everything he's overcome is just incredible. He's an incredible fighter. He's an incredible person. I got nothing but love for Jamal Hill.
He's an incredible person, an incredible fighter. And I mean, you know much better than I, but I'll listen to any Jamal Hill interview. I think he doesn't get enough credit for a lot of things. I think he doesn't get enough credit for how good he is, but I also think he doesn't get enough credit for how intelligent he is. He said something on the Mike Perry podcast, which I thought was really interesting. And I know there's a little bit of beef between him and Ariel and things like that. And that he's talked about pretty openly, and Ariel's talked about it a little bit. But, you know, one thing he said to Mike Perry is he said sometimes he can come off to people as maybe a little bit rude, or I don't know if he used those words exactly, but what he said, he's like, the way I talk and the way I communicate, I want to make sure that what I'm saying is communicated effectively and that you understand what I say. So he's very intentional with his words. And I can see how, you know, maybe sometimes people might misinterpret it, but I love that. Like, he really thinks through everything, thinks very carefully. And I wish he would do more interviews like that, those long form interviews where you can really see his personality. Cause I think the public would love him even more. You know, he's already been a champ, or is a champ, depending on your perspective. Still is a champ, really never lost a belt. So yeah, he's the man. So anyways, I'm excited. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means he could fight on UFC 300, but I'm hoping. And yeah, I think he gets it. I think he gets it back if he does fight, but let's see. That was kind of exciting.
I love to fight him, see on UFC 300. Guys, you know, he's tried and true, man. This guy's a freaking warrior. And not to mention, you know, could be a future guy in the 10-7. You know, we might get it. I might be able to ask him for a favor, and he'll come on the show, and, you know, you'll get to, you know, ask him the questions you want. So Jamal, like I said, being the world champion, being #1 in the world in the UFC, he's so humble, and he wants to help everybody, and I'm willing to bet he'll help us grow as well.
Well, that's amazing. And, you know, 3 Michigan guys. What, you can't have is there any other MMA show with 2 Michigan guys, right? So yeah, I think it'd be dope. All right, let's get into the VIX. Now, UFC 300 main event. We're talking about it again and again and again. But hey, everybody's curious. Everybody wants to know. Now, there's been a post from Izzy that seems to allude to the fact that he's coming back and he's headlining 300. I'm going to pull that up as well, just so people can see it. But yeah, so now it looks like still no official announcement has been made. People have been waiting all week. They were waiting last week, still nothing. But it seems like this might be happening. Where do you stand on this? Do you have any thoughts? Like, have you heard something similar, or what do you think?
Dude, I hear, you know, going through Instagram, going through social media, it's like I hear all these different predictions. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, a podcast, I wanted to send it to you, I meant to send it to you, got called out yesterday because they were making like, oh, it's official, like this is the matchup for this and this is the matchup, and it ended up all being bogus and a hoax. So really right now, you know, it's turning into almost like politics, man. You know, people are just saying outlandish shit that some things are true, some things aren't true. Nobody knows what's true, but we continue to tune in. You know, Adesanya is a great fighter, man. But the way Dana White is talking, like, oh my God, wait till we announce the main event. This is going to be crazy. It's going to be bonkers. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be like, wow, that's that crazy. Adesanya's coming back after a
That's
fucking
true.
hasn't done anything to regain title contention. I mean, he was a great champion. He tried to go up a weight class and lost. You know, he ended up losing his belt. And again, I say this every fucking show, and I'll continue to say it. I'm not speaking out of disrespect. I'm
Right.
just from a business standpoint. You know, Adesanya, obviously, dude, if he saw this, he'd probably want to whoop my ass, and that's fine. I have much respect for him as a fighter. But when Dana White's hyping this, oh my God, you guys are going to be blown away, like, that's a matchup that people are expecting. That's a matchup that, okay, cool. If that happens, all right, great. That's a good matchup. But nobody's going to be blown away by that matchup. And the way Dana White's talking, oh, you're going to be blown away. You're going to be blown away. Like, that's not the matchup that's going to blow people away.
I mean, I kind of agree with you. I would be excited to see Izzy fight again. I am a fan, and I do think it would be cool. But you're right, that wouldn't blow me away. I'll tell you the only things that would like literally blow me away, and there's 3. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. So there's if you're talking about, oh my God, this is insane. Like I have to do this. I have to be a part. I want to go like make me even potentially want to go to the event, though I probably won't do that because it's going to be astronomically expensive. But there's
in Vegas.
Oh yeah, it's in Vegas. Yeah, in April. So here are the 3 fights that I think would be where people would be like, oh my God, this is insane. One, which I don't think is going to happen. Although weirdly enough, I heard that the BMF title is off, but then I think now it's back on. I don't know what's going on with Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway, but it says, even if you go on Google and just look at the UFC fights, it says canceled, but then it still shows it. I don't know what was going on there. And then Dustin Poirier said his fight was off, but now it's back on. So I don't know. But one fight, if you're talking about Conor, even at this point, I don't know if I want to see Conor fight. Obviously, we all do. But I feel like the fight where people would be blown away to me would be something on the line. So like Conor versus, I know people are talking about the 165 thing, but I think that's just a made up thing. I think that's just people trolling. But Conor versus Gaethje for the BMF belt would be very exciting to me. Number one. Number two, I think Strickland coming back and rematching DDP. I think that would actually blow people away because Strickland's become such a superstar. And then the third option, where it'd be like an oh my God moment, Khabib returning. That's it. That's the only things I can think of that would blow people away. Like the talk about Brock Lesnar, I think is ridiculous. People were saying Ronda Rousey coming back, or even what's her name, Amanda Nunes coming back. None of those would be like oh my God. Khabib coming back would be like an oh my God moment.
Yeah, so honestly, like any time, it's the thing. They've kind of used up Conor's star power, and he's not winning. He hasn't won a fight in a long time. So to me, and I'm not saying everyone's going to agree with this, but to me, anything that deals with Conor McGregor isn't an oh my God. Like there are matchups I want to see Conor. Yeah, I'd love to see Conor and Gaethje. But if I saw that, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, holy fuck, wow, this is. It's like Conor's lost like 5 fights in a row. He's coming back from a broken leg. Like he's not the same person he was. He's rich. His training probably isn't the same. His hunger definitely isn't the same. And I'm speaking from experience. Dude, the guy's worth $20 million, probably $50 million. Like, what does he have to do this for? He doesn't. So that doesn't intrigue me. I've heard speculation of Conor and Nate 3. I mean, these are matchups that I've thought about for over a year, man. That doesn't jump out at me.
I agree.
A Khabib turnout. Now I did see, so I got a little stoned last night, actually really stoned, and I'm scrolling through Instagram, and the last couple weeks I've been seeing a lot of press, not MMA related, but George St. Pierre keeps popping up in my feed, and it's never happened before, and I've always followed him, but he's just his name. I keep seeing his name, and I keep seeing pictures of him, and I'm thinking last night is, what if George St. Pierre versus Khabib at 185? Now that would blow everybody's mind. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it, but it's as like if we're talking about mind-blowing announcements.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
We're not talking about real. We're talking about mind-blowing. George St. Pierre is the former middleweight champion, arguably to me the best MMA fighter in the history of the sport, well-rounded wise, and especially at welterweight. Khabib, says he's the best. They always talked about doing a grappling match. Fucking bring them both back at 185 and let the fans have some fun. Don't put it for anything. Just fucking have them fight, dude. And that would be an incredible headliner. Headliner number 2 that I want to see. That would blow my socks off. Leon Edwards versus Islam Makhachev. We've talked about this. That would be like, holy fuck, let's fucking go.
That would be, yes.
Like these are the way Dana White is talking about, wait till we announce the main event. It's not going to be Sean Strickland versus Dricus. Like 90, or I wouldn't say 90, but more than probably 50% of the MMA population expects that matchup to happen sometime in the next 6 months or a year. That's not mind-blowing. So I'm trying to think, especially when in my high state last night, like if I saw this on paper, where would I call my son and be like, holy shit, did you see this? That's
right.
Like, so all these matchups that involve Conor, who cares? All these matchups that involve Dricus, Sean Strickland, do I want to see the fight? Yes. Is it going to blow my mind? No. Dustin Poirier, he's going back and forth. I mean, if we're talking about mind-blowing matchups, fuck it. Khabib versus George St. Pierre middleweight. Would that blow
That'd
your
be
mind?
that would blow my mind. That would
That's
blow my mind.
mind-blowing stuff right there.
But honestly, Habib coming back, period, would blow my mind. That would really blow my mind. But I think just Habib, man, for me, and I think a lot of people are with me on this. I'm such a big Habib fan. When he was fighting, he was my favorite fighter. So I would, and I kind of put it away like he's never coming back. So if he came back, and there's a lot of talk about him coming back, people might be dismissing it and like, oh, he said one thing, and now people. There's been a lot of statements. Islam talked about it in an interview. His coach Javier Mendez talked about it and alluded to the fact that he's coming back. And Habib has talked about it and saying how he misses it and that it's the only thing that gives him that specific feeling, which I'm sure you can relate to, and I cannot from personal experience. But so this has been talked about many, many times. And then Ali, who you train with occasionally, I'd love to know if you talk to him, but I'm guessing not. But he even made a big post about Habib potentially coming back and going on a triple title run to get the 185 belt, 170, and even light heavyweight, which is insane. But I mean, so a lot of people are talking about it. I don't think it's out of the realm. And last thing I'll say, some people are like, well, it's during Ramadan. It's not during Ramadan. Ramadan ends 4 days before UFC 300. So theoretically, if he's okay to train during Ramadan, which he might be, I know Bilal Muhammad has done that before. It's a possibility.
Here's the thing with Habib too is not every matchup with Habib excites me. You know, if they bring him back as this huge announcement and they give him like a number 10 guy or a 9 guy, it's like
No,
I
but
don't
yeah.
I don't want to. I mean, I don't. Here's the thing. And I guess I'm salty because, during my UFC stint, I was not given any favors. I was an plus 200 dog in every fucking fight. I was set up for failure from my first fight to my 5th fight. I was set up for failure. When guys like Habib come in that are 30-0 or 29-0, if he gets a gimme fight, I'm going to be very disappointed in the UFC. This guy, I mean, they've given this guy plenty of matchups. He's proven time and time again how tough he is. He's a great fighter. I think he needs to fight a legit contender fighter, a good fight, a good matchup. Don't just go give him a fucking kickboxer. Don't give him Stephen Thompson, where he's going to take down and wrestle fucking. Everyone's like, oh, wow, that's so awesome. Like, I want to see this guy in a fight. And you look at a lot of his fights and he's so dynamic and awesome at 155. Like, it was tough, man. I thought Gaethje was going to give him all he could and he just couldn't. Maybe it was the time difference Gaethje talked about, but if he does come back, I'm hoping he fights a legit fighter and they don't give him a gimme fight.
All right, well, let's see. This is the anticipation is building. All right, let's move on to topic number 2. This I almost don't even believe. But people are talking about this as a potential matchup and that it's in discussions and this might happen. Colby versus Shavkat. I'll tell you why it's just weird to me because number one, Colby can't talk smack to Shavkat. It's not going to work. Shavkat's like the Terminator. Is just going to, and the language barrier. So it's not going to be an interesting buildup. I feel like Colby normally doesn't take fights like this. Like this seems like the hardest fight you could take in the welterweight division. So I heard Michael Bisping talk about it, and he said, well, the reason why he would take it is because if he wins, he can jump right back into a title shot. I mean, what do you think? Like, does this seem, and I know you've trained or some of your teammates have trained with Colby. Does this even seem real? And do you think it makes sense for Colby?
It definitely makes sense for Colby, and here's why. He's going to be an underdog in this fight. Nobody's going to expect him to win. He's on his way out. He's old. He's lost 3 fights in a row now, I believe, maybe 4. This is his one opportunity to stay relevant. So it's a high risk, high reward. But how long, how old is Colby? Like 37, 38?
I'm going to check right now. I want to say 36 or 37, one of the two. Let's see. And by the way, he won his last fight against Jorge Masvidal before he lost to Leon Edwards. No, he's only 35. He's only 35.
Wow, I thought he was older than that. I mean, even at 35, dude, he's been put through the ringer. He's had a lot of tough fights. He's fought for the championship 3 times. Jorge Masvidal, who's an awesome fighter. I mean, he went to decision with him. Going those 5-round fights is taxing on your body, man. And I see it's a high risk, high reward situation. If Colby takes on Shavkat and wins, he stays relevant. He stays within title contention. Or he goes in there and gets starts, gets a big payday, and he can be laughing all the way to the bank. I don't really understand it, Because again, Colby to me is that old school one-dimensional fighter. I don't see where he can beat Shavkat here. Shavkat's
Yeah.
on fire right now. He has tons of momentum going. With that being said, maybe Colby sees something I don't, because I don't study Shavkat. I've watched him fight once or twice. I've seen a couple of his interviews. Maybe Colby sees something in his game that he thinks he can exploit. And, it's a great up and coming guy that if he beats, Colby stays relevant. Colby stays within that title contention. If he loses, though, on the other hand, at least he's going to get a big payday. And, his fight after that, if he fights again after that, we'll see. I mean, what is he, 1-3 in his last 4, or 1-4 in his last 5?
Okay, actually, let me tell you. I'm going to look up his record. By the way, but I got to show you something else in a second, too, that just popped up when I was Googling him. So he is 2-2 in his last 4. So he beat Tyron, lost to Kamaru, beat Jorge, and then lost to Leon.
Yeah, it's just sorry, my dad fucking walks over and just opens my door like.
Oh, good. It's all good.
So I missed out that last thing you said, but what would you say his record was?
He's 2-4 in his 2-2 in his last 4 fights. But look at this little thing right here. This might be the reason. I don't know if this is legit or not. It says UFC told to remove Colby Covington from the rankings if he turns down Shavkat. He's bottlenecking the top of the decision. I wonder if that's true. I don't think there's any. Who knows where this came from? But I mean, I guess I could see that. He's kind of been sitting on his ranking for a while. He was out for 2 years. All that stuff. So,
dude, maybe the UFC is sick of him, man. He had a terrible showing in his last fight. He talked all that shit, had a terrible showing. And who was his opponent? I can't even remember.
Leon.
Oh yeah, Leon Edwards. Obviously. Yeah. He had a terrible showing. He talked all that shit. Maybe the UFC is like, you know what? This guy isn't gonna. Dude, I don't really care to watch him fight. Like, even to him versus Shavkat, that better not. That's like a fight night main event, man. Like, it's. I'll probably tune in if it's convenient, but this isn't a fight that's exciting, and this could be, the passing of the torch of Shavkat coming in here, starching Colby, and being relevant. Because, like you said, he is sitting on his ranking. He's not fighting consistently. He took 2 years off. He's still in the top 5. He's getting older. He's still very one-dimensional. His striking's not changing. He's just going to try to wrestle fuck everybody, and that's fine, and that worked for a long time. But we're in a new era now, man. If you don't have all the tools, you're not going to go far. And maybe that's the UFC saying, all right, dude, hey, if you don't take this fight, we're kicking you out of the rankings because it's a business. If he's not making a money, again, how's he going to talk shit to Shavkat? He talked all that shit to Leon Edwards, got fucking embarrassed. I thought it was an embarrassing fight for Colby. Like, the UFC's probably looking at him like, this guy's washed up, so take it or get the fuck out of here.
Might be. The one fight we were talking about that we'd love to see Colby with, because the buildup would have been amazing and it could have launched the other guy's careers, would be Ian Gary. That seemed to make the most sense, but yeah, like, they're not throwing him Ian Gary, which probably would sell a lot of pay-per-views, as showing him Shavkat. I don't know, man. But yeah, they must be pressuring him to take it. I just can't see him. I want to see the odds. I just tried to look them up, but they're not posted yet. I just don't see any way for him to win. It's crazy to me, but that might be the UFC pushing him out. Well, let's see. It's exciting news, because I would like to see him come back, and even I would prefer him against Ian Gary, but I'll take it. I'm a big fan of Shavkat as well. All right. Next thing I want to talk to you about is Dominic Reyes. And I think he's trained at Extreme Couture before. I don't know if you know him, but there's I think footage of him training with Sean Strickland. He had really nice things to say about Sean Strickland. So the reason why I wanted to talk about Dominic Reyes is he doesn't do a lot of media, but he did an interview, like a 20-minute interview or 30-minute interview with James Lynch. And I came upon it last night. And man, I don't know. I like Dominic Reyes, and I was watching a lot of his interviews leading up to the John Jones fight. And I just feel like he had such a rough run in the UFC. And I think him basically beating John Jones, which seems to be the consensus, I don't know. I just feel like that did a number on him. It's like he won, but he didn't win. And I think that must have been really hard to handle. I'd just love to get your thoughts on it. But also, one thing he did talk about is he just dealt with a really crazy blood clot issue that made him pull out of his last fight. So now he can't even take this next fight. He's dealing with all these medical issues. He still wants to come back. He still wants to stay competitive. He's lost his last 4 in a row. And I think he is 34. Yeah, he's 34. So I just kind of, I don't know, it was really an engaging interview. And I think he's around your age. Like, just want to get your thoughts on, what do you see for a guy like Dominic Reyes going through what he's been through, losing his last 4 fights, basically having to almost dying from this blood clot. And now he still wants to come back and fight. What do you see? What do you know about him? And what do you see in his future?
As a fan, I've seen Dominic in the gym. I've never had the pleasure of talking to him, but think about this. I get to go into Extreme Couture and watch Dominic Reyes and Sean Strickland throw down for free. Up close, personal, like fuck, my fingers are in the fence, dude. This is how lucky I am, to be a part of such a great gym. Now to go to what you're asking me to talk about Dominic Reyes, man, like MMA, whether you're in the UFC, Bellator, PFL, one, it is the most unforgiving sport in the world. You have to show up. I'm sure sometimes, with your schooling, your tutoring, I'm sure some days you wake up like, fuck, I don't want to go do this. You get there, you're doing the bare minimum. And again, if this is not a shot at you, Jose, I just mean
Yeah.
in general, people at work. Sometimes
Yeah.
you're all right, let's fucking go. And some days
Mhm.
you're like, fuck, I wish I was doing something else, or if you don't show up every fucking day on fight day, you take life altering damage, And let me tell you, Dominic Reyes showed up to fight John Jones. I thought he won the fight. So
I
think about
know.
this emotional roller coaster. You're fighting the #1 pound for pound best fighter in the world in some people's idea. The guy's undefeated. He's fucking beat everybody. You do everything right. You think you win the fight, you lose. Do you know how hard it is to come back from that mentally? And John
Yeah. I
Jones,
want
oh, I fucked him up so bad physically, he never was the same. That isn't usually true. It's like I've did everything I could. I got to the top. I saw the top of the mountain. I feel like I beat John Jones. I have nothing else to prove. And you lose motivation. And I'll be 100% honest. Like, this has happened when I got cut from the UFC. Like, dude, like when I fought Carl Dean, I remember, when he was on my back, like I took a bad shot or something. Long story short, he ended up on top and he's punching me. It happened in my last fight that you witnessed. Like, I'm on the ground. I'm not really taking damage, but it's like I could stand up, but I'm kind of tired. So, I'm only getting $1,000 to be here. My motivation was gone. So we talk about Dominic Reyes getting to the top of the mountain, doing everything perfect, probably having a perfect fight camp, fighting a perfect fight almost, and to lose mentally, what does that do? Now he has his injuries, he has this blood clot he's talking about. I mean, man, you got, as a fighter, the physical part, training is easy. It's easy to go to the gym and just show up. Doesn't matter if you're in a good mood, bad mood, if you're fucking on today, off today. You just got to show up, you do the work, and that's it. But when you show up on fight day and you're hesitant, or maybe you're a little hesitant isn't the right word, like maybe you're unsure of yourself, fuck you. When you do everything right and you still lose, you start to question if you're doing things right, even when you are doing things right. And maybe that's what Dominic Reyes is going through right now. And to have that a blood clot, man, that's serious business. Now we're talking life and death. We're not talking about
Yeah.
submission, tap out, referee stops. Blood clot pops, especially on your brain, you're fucking dead, man. So, I hope he doesn't come back unless he's cleared 100%, man. There's nothing. I'd fucking hate to see somebody again competing with the best fighters in the world to fucking dying because he makes a bad decision. So we'll see what his future leads, man. And I hope the best for him. The guy seems like a stand-up guy, and when I see him in the gym, dude, I get to watch him fight with the best in the world, and I wish nothing but the best for him.
Yeah, me too. And I'd love to see him come back. And it just goes back to one of the reasons why I love the sport, or why I respect the fighters so much, is I just cannot imagine, like, even some like this week, or that, some of the things I've been dealing with in the new year. And sometimes it feels overwhelming. And then I just listen to these interviews and I'm like, what am I like? I can't even complain about anything. Like, this guy, and that's why I was curious to hear your thoughts. You just hear him and he's still so grounded. He's still so humble. He's still got that attitude where he feels like he's one of the best in the world and he's still going to put in the work. And it's just so impressive. And then he's like, yeah, it's all right. He's like, I got my family. I've got my faith in God. I've got my girlfriend, and they're with me. They're surrounding me, and I'm still coming back. I'm still one of the best. I'm still going to be here. And he is in that heavier division, and guys in that division, I mean, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, 34 is like really young for light heavyweight, right? Like, you can easily fight for another 5-6 years potentially. We've seen it with Glover. I mean, that may not be the norm, but he's still pretty young, right?
Well, we talk about age a lot. Me being 34, everyone always tells me, it's like, oh, you're young, you got fucking years left. But we got to talk
Mhm.
about mileage and damage, man. Like, your brain can
Mm.
only get hit so many times. So if he's, I started fighting when I was 17. I had my first MMA fight in a bar, like a real event at 17 years old. I've personally had 76 MMA fights, not wrestling matches, not grappling matches. I'm talking MMA gloves, no shin pads, no headgear, and
Whew.
76 times. Yes,
Yeah,
34 is young, but think about how many times I've been punched in the head in a fight. How many times I've been punched in the head in training. Your body can only go through so much. So, age is relevant or relative. I mean, excuse me, not
relative.
relevant.
Yeah,
Relative. Age is relative. 30, I might be 34, but fuck, I've been fucking knocked out, 25 times. So now I feel like I'm 44. Or like Randy Couture, he started when he was 35. He got in the UFC when he was 35 and he fought till he was 50. But again, from 20 years old to 35, he wasn't taking damage to his head. He was wrestling. He was doing Greco-Roman wrestling, which is an intensive physical sport, but he's not taking those shots to the head, and I think
right.
that's, equivalents to longevity. We look at Dominic Reyes. Yeah, he's 34, but he had a 5-round war with John Jones. Now look at his resume, dude. This guy's had wars. How many times has he been knocked unconscious? Like, that shit adds up. So when people talk about age, it's
Yeah.
all relative, man.
Yeah, he got TKO'd by Blachowicz. He got knocked out by Yuri. Although he had Yuri knocked out, he had Yuri unconscious, and Yuri even admitted that. So he should have won that fight, which is so sad. And then he got KO'd by Ryan Spann too. So, whew, yeah, it's tough, but I'm rooting for him, and I always am impressed with his interviews, and I like his fighting style. And when he fought John Jones at that time, he was undefeated. So his only 4 losses have been John Jones, which again is debatable, and those other 3. And last thing before we move on, because I want to talk about Ilia Topuria as well versus Volk and Ilia's statements. But do you think, for example, I mean, like if he went in and everybody thought he lost to John Jones, right? And that would be devastating as well. But the fact that pretty much everybody thinks he won, but he gets no respect for the fact that he won in the broad sense of like being one of the greatest or whatnot. Like how, if you put yourself in that position, if you went out and you beat the best 155, or if you beat Islam, but it went down as a loss on your record. I mean, like how hard would it be to deal with something like that?
Dealing with the loss would be tough, but getting motivated to try to come back is even tougher. Like,
Mhm.
losses, we all lose eventually. You know what I mean? Like, if you stick around long enough, you're gonna lose in this sport. You get outgrown. The sport changes. You get old. Damage happens. Maybe somebody just gets lucky and clips you. So that's just inevitable. But coming back, man, I can't imagine going like. I mean, I can and I can't, especially at the top of the world, And then, fuck, if he wins that fight, his whole trajectory of everything changes. He's going to be defending the belt. Maybe he stays. I'm the champ, and I'm going to hold on. Now he loses. He knows he has to win 2 or 3 more fights to get back into title contention to get another title shot. And just to think, like right now, like personally, I'm dealing with, like, I talked to my manager. I need to win 4 or 5 fights in a row to get a shot back at the UFC. Do you know how long that's going to take? That's going to be 3, 4, 5 full training camps, 5 full weight cuts that I have to mentally prepare for, even to have a shot at getting back. And that's just to give me a 50-50 chance. Like, that's mentally exhausting. Like, to go through a full fight camp. You and I, one of these days, you're going to come to Vegas and you're going to stay with me and you're going to do like a 2-week fight camp.
Yeah,
And
I want
and I
to.
and I'm gonna put you through the fucking ringer, just like if I was, or maybe I'll do it during one of my fight camps. And
Okay.
what's gonna happen is when we wake up in the morning, you're like, I want to skip training, like I'm sore. Get your fucking ass up, boy. And that's the worst part is if you are going through a fight camp because you've obviously never done it before. Like when I go to wake you up at 9 or 10, whenever we're going to the gym, you're gonna be like, no, Just, I'm gonna skip this session. And that's the mentality difference with fighters to civilians. It's I wake up, I'm sore, I'm hobbling out of bed. There are 100 thoughts going through my head of why I shouldn't be training, but I have to find the one reason of why I am training. If that makes any sense. And I can't wait for you to go
Yes.
through it because it's something that dude, the mental monsters of trying to make a comeback are so tough. You do everything right. You get there, you're right there. I mean, he was this close to beating the #1 pound for pound. And now to know in his head, he has to go back and do all that over again. And not does he only have to do it all over again, he has to do it better. Like,
Yeah,
what? It's
I
fucking
know.
insane, man. And I
That's
can't wait to get out here and beat you up a little, or you to get out here. I'm going to beat you up a little bit. And then the next morning, I'm like, hey, we got to go spar. And you're going to be like, fuck.
Yeah, but let me tell you something about me, and then we're gonna move on to this Ilya fight. If I tell you I'm gonna do it for 2 weeks, I actually won't. You won't hear me say that. I might feel that way, but you won't hear me say
Well,
that.
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna make sure you do. But you're in your head, you're gonna be like, fuck, this fucking
yeah,
sucks.
yeah, maybe.
Especially we get done with the sparring session. It's 8 o'clock at night. It's dark out. Hey, what are you doing? Put your running shoes on, dude. We got to go hit a 2-mile run. And you're like, fuck. But anyways, moving on.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it because I've been wanting to do a camp or like a pretend training camp for a long time. So that sounds amazing. All right, let's move on to Ilia Topuria's bold statements. Okay, so I'm going to pull it up over here. He apparently claimed that he's going to knock out Volk. Hold on, knock out Volk in the first round. I'm just going to pull up that statement. So I got it up here. But yeah, he's brimming with confidence, or maybe it's just him talking smack or whatever. Volk did an interview yesterday. I think it was, I saw it yesterday in Australia talking about the fight. And he's like, yeah, of course, he's got to say what he's got to say, but I'm fully confident. People saying, oh, you got knocked out and that's going to affect you. He's saying that's not going to do anything. But yeah, once again, Ilya is just brimming with confidence. What do you make of a statement like this? Do you give it any credibility, or it's just straight up smack talking?
No, it's just, I mean, every fighter says the same shit. Every time I was in the UFC, oh, Justin's never been finished. What are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to knock him on the first round. Like this guy,
Yeah.
Carson Hardman, oh, he's going to knock me on the first round. Oh, wow, because that's happened before. It's never happened in 76 fights. What makes you think you're going to do that to me? And I know it has happened to Volk, but again, we're talking about the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world and the #2 pound for pound fighter in the world, up a weight class. That's an exception. Now, how is Volk's brain, how is his mentality recovering? Ooh, okay.
Yep.
I was like, oh,
Oh,
what's
I'm
happening?
just
How is his brain
you
recovering
keep
from
going.
that loss, man?
Yeah.
If he's a mentally strong dude, he might come unfazed. You know, Ilia Topuria is he's saying exactly what he's supposed to say. He's saying what every single fighter was gonna say. I think fucking Max Holloway probably said he was gonna. I don't know. It's. I hate when people say I'm gonna knock him on the first round. Unless you're doing it consistently,
Mhm.
just say, hey, man, wherever the fight goes is going to go. I'm going to try to knock him on the first round. But, dude, he's a tough fighter. He's the #2 pound for pound fighter in the world. For Topuria just think he's going to walk in there and knock Volk out in the first round is kind of ridiculous. Like, kind of just says no respect to him. With that being said, that high kick that Islam got caught, or that Islam threw that knocked Volk out, that's in Topuria's game. And I'm sure that he's studied that fight time and time again, watched this setup, watched how he set it up, and maybe he plans to set up the same thing on Volk as well. So, you know, again, every fighter's always going to say, oh, I'm going to knock him on the first round. Fucking grapplers even say they're going to knock him on the first round. But to get in there and actually do it's a different story. So let's see if he has let's see if he has what it takes.
Yeah, and I think Volk in response is just like, look, I know he thinks he's very good. He is quite good, but the competition he's fought hasn't been
I don't
up
know
to
what
speed.
happened with your volume, but your
Oh,
volume is
can't hear
muted.
me? Wait, hold on. Let me just make sure. Okay, hold
I'm
on
going to
one
leave
second.
and come back.
All right, leave and come back, and I'll just finish my thought. We'll move on to the next topic. But yeah, basically, Volk was just saying, hey, yeah, he is quite good. He's very good, but he hasn't fought this level of competition. So it's we'll see what happens. But he said he's planning to humble Ilia Topuria, teach him a lesson, and then let him come back later, and then maybe try and get the belt after a couple fights. Let's see what happens. It's an exciting fight, an exciting card with Ian Gary on there as well. Okay. Let's move in to the last fight. This one, a lot of people were pretty surprised about when it got announced. I think the main reason why people were surprised of why would Dustin Poirier kind of give Benoit Saint Denis a shot, right? With the difference in ranking and whatnot. I assume he must have gotten compensated very well. And then we hear this story did you hear this, that the fight was off? Did you hear that oh, it's no worries. That the fight was off, that Dustin Poirier announced that the fight was off.
Yeah, I did hear that. I saw him post about the fight, and then you know, he said it was off. He said he was sorry for coming out and saying that. I don't
Yes.
really know what to make of it. I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess time will just tell. Anytime. I mean, Dustin Poirier is a champion, man. He's one of the greatest, you know, lightweights right now. So you know, I mean, maybe he sees some holes in St. Denis's game and he plans to exploit them. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. If he loses, I mean, he's going to take a hefty drop down. So it is a risk. But again, he's the pro. His team knows what's best for him. And again, maybe he sees a hole that he thinks he can exploit.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it's an exciting fight, and I give him a lot of props. Like I said, I hope he was compensated very well for this because he is giving Benoit Saint Denis a shot, and I bet he is. He must be. Obviously, I'm sure
he's making at least 200 grand, 150 to 200 grand for sure.
Oh, I bet you way more. Don't you think? I mean, I don't think he's getting paid much less than I would be shocked if it was less than $1 million just a show because he's become such a big star.
You know, I just look get down. I look at, like, you know, when Martin Kampmann was in the UFC, a good friend of mine, you know, he was ranked top 3. He was fighting Carlos Condit for #1 contendership back when George St. Pierre was the champ. And I remember he got 60,000. So, you know, I think 200,000 to show, maybe 250,000. I don't think it's going to be $1 million because it's not going to be a main event fight. It's going to be like a featured main card fight, maybe the first or second fight on the main card, which I just don't think they're going to be breaking off $1 million for like a main card fight that's not the main event.
Got it. I mean, you probably know this better than me. I just assume he's become just such a massive star. So that was kind of my thoughts. But anyways, massive props to Dustin for taking the fight. It's going to be an exciting fight. Benoit's got a big fan base in France. And yeah, he's an up and comer. So let's see what happens. Even if he loses, he still can come back around and do his thing. But I'm rooting for Dustin. I don't know who are you rooting for?
Dustin, always, man. Dustin Poirier is awesome. You know, his fight with Max Holloway, his fights with Conor McGregor, like, this guy's a class act, man. In and out of the cage, man. He's a guy that I could really get behind. He feels like a guy that I'd want to go to the bar and drink some beer with.
Heck yeah. All right, awesome. And he does amazing work. He does a lot of community service and a lot of education work.
All that good shit.
Yeah, no, it's
not to
amazing.
mention, shout out to the hot sauce, bro. Like, real talk, if you haven't had Dustin Poirier's hot sauce yet, you're missing out. Dude,
really?
Thunder Bay, Ontario. You look, we got fucking Louisiana style.
Wow.
We got fucking jalapeno. I got about 7 different flavors of the Poirier's hot sauce, man. And, you know, one of my clients got it from me because, you know, I'm obviously being in the UFC and stuff. And, dude, it is fire hot sauce. It's really good.
Really? So, you know what's funny? I've heard him talk about it, and he's like, yeah, I'm not just putting my brand on it. I'm going in, I'm tasting it. I'm checking the vinegar levels. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at that. He's like, I know hot sauce really well. So I remember him saying that, but I haven't tried it yet. All right, I'm going to order some. I'm going to try it.
There's like 12 different flavors. Order them all and see which ones you like best. So obviously some are better than others. So yeah, give it a shot.
All right, awesome. Well, that's all we got for today. That's our Friday show. So everybody, thank you again. If you are checking this out and giving us a shot, we really appreciate it. We're growing. We're making consistent content, and we're having a blast doing it. I'm making some shirts. It's going to be a surprise, but I'm getting the shirts ready. I'm going to have them shipped to you with, I'm getting some tank tops with our logo on it. So it's going to be pretty cool. But anyways, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And thank you guys so much. We're excited. And we are very, very excited for UFC 298. I wish I could go in person because it's in my backyard. I'm going to be out of town that weekend, unfortunately. So it is what it is. But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining. And we'll see you at the next episode. Take it easy.